Hello everyone, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy you're here. If you're new here, hi, I'm Maddie. I'm a K-5 STEM teacher and ed tech coach in Los Angeles. I post weekly tech tutorials for teachers, and today's video specifically is going to be about how to put on the perfect February morning meeting. My morning meeting videos on YouTube have been really popular, so I'm super excited about today's video. I'm going to give you some ideas for activities you can do with your students, whether you're teaching in person or remotely, and we're specifically going to be looking at some slides that I put together. Now, I will have a link for these slides in the video description down below in case you'd like to check it out. But you're also welcome to make your own slides based off these activities, and I hope that you'll find today's video to be really helpful. So without further ado, let's get started. So right now we are looking at a Google Slides presentation that I put together, and I will have a link to this in the video description down below for you to check out in case you like it. But basically what I've done here is I've actually put together an entire month's worth of morning meetings. Now, morning meeting, it's really great. It's a really great way to provide routine and predictability and have classroom community, but it can be tricky to come up with a new morning meeting every single day. So what I like about these slides is they can be a really great guide for teachers. I have activity ideas, I have morning share ideas. So I think that this is just a really great resource that you can use when conducting a morning meeting in the month of February. So if you'll see here, basically on the left-hand side, I have a ton of different slides. This is a gigantic slide presentation. Like I said, I put together slides for the entire month of February. So if you see, if I scroll, there's a new slide deck for every single day. All right, but going back up to the top here, you'll see that I also have different holidays. So for example, February is Black History Month. So for the first Monday in February, I might recommend that you do an activity with your students related to Black History Month. So if you're teaching in person, you can project these slides on the board, or if you're teaching remotely, you can screen share these on Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or whatever video conferencing platform you might be using. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk you through a couple of examples of activities that you can do with your students. So this is going to be recommendations for the first week of February, but I think a lot of these are really applicable to the entire month. So let's check it out. All right, so first we have Monday. So for February 1st, I might introduce Black History Month to students. So here I might want to center my students to actually teach them about Black History Month. So you might say something like, Black History Month is a month-long celebration that occurs every February, recognizing the importance of Black people in US history. It is also celebrated in other countries, including the United Kingdom and Canada. And today you're going to be learning about some of the many important Black figures in US history. So again, just a slide to sort of center students and help sort of serve as the greeting for them with morning meeting. So you'll see I have some examples of historical figures that you could talk about. You could introduce these figures to your students. And then it would be time for the morning share. So I personally like to follow the responsive classroom morning meeting structure. I think it's a really great way to provide routine to students. It's great for a number of different reasons. I'll be sure to have the responsive classroom website linked in the description down below in case you'd like to learn more, in case you aren't familiar with it. But here's an example of a morning share that you might do with your students for Black History Month. So for example, I say, which historical figures are familiar to you? And who are you curious to learn more about? So students could then take turns responding to this question. So if you're teaching on Zoom, for example, you could have students take turns by raising their virtual hand. If you're teaching in person, you could do the same thing, call on different students. So here we have our morning activity. The important Black historical figures we learned about today are known for promoting equality and freedom. What can we do to make the world a more fair place for everyone? Draw a picture of your idea on a piece of paper and hold it up for the class to see. So this is just a short drawing exercise to get students to reflect on some of their learning from morning meeting, some of their learning about Black History Month, and then they can share their work with the rest of the class. And then it's time for the morning message. So I'll dive into the morning message a little bit in the next section, but I do like to close off morning meeting with the morning message, and that is a part of the responsive classroom morning meeting structure. So next we'll take a look at Tuesday, February 2nd. So Tuesday, February 2nd is Groundhog Day. So you might want to start off by saying something like, today is Groundhog Day. It is Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. So next we move on to the morning share portion of morning meetings. So you might ask students a question like, do you prefer winter or spring and why? If you're teaching in person, you can just have students take turns sharing either by going one by one, around the circle, or you can have students raise their hand and you can call on them. You can draw popsicle sticks. And if you're teaching remotely, you can do the same thing. You can call on students randomly. You can have them take turns. You can just go one by one based off of the order they appear on your Zoom screen. There's a bunch of different options here, but basically the share here is to ask students whether they prefer winter or spring and why. A fun Groundhog Day themed activity. Then next we have the morning activity. So this one is, will the groundhog see his shadow? So you'll notice that this is a little bit related to the share portion before, where we asked students whether they prefer winter or spring. And now this one is just a fun activity to get students to guess whether the groundhog will see his shadow. So if the groundhog sees his shadow and you're teaching in person, you can have your students go to the left side of the room. And if you're teaching in person again, and your students believe that the groundhog will not see its shadow, you can have your students go to the right side of the room. So this is kind of like a this or that activity that you can try with your students. I think it's fun for them to sort of predict what's happening. Now, if you're teaching virtually, you can still have students do this activity. You can have them raise their virtual hand. You can have students start with their cameras off. And you can say, if you think the groundhog will see its shadow, turn your camera on. And you can see which students believe that the groundhog will see its shadow. So that's just one idea of how you can do this activity when teaching remotely as well. Then next we have the morning message. So I briefly talked about the morning message with the Black History Month activity, but basically what I like to recommend to teachers is that you use the morning message to really center students and help prepare them for the rest of the day. I think it's a really great time to ground students and help them get ready for their next activity. So for example, you could have your students do a math problem. You could do a math problem about the date, if you have a number of the day, different things like that. So some sort of math problem that's related to what students are learning about. You can also have them reflect on something that they learned yesterday. So for example, you could say, yesterday we learned about blank. Today we're going to learn about blank. What did you learn yesterday? Or something like that. Then you can also have students practice their writing skills. So you could have them do a short creative writing exercise. If you wanted to do one related to Groundhog Day, you might even ask students to write about whether or not they think the groundhog will see its shadow and why. All right, now moving on to Wednesday. So on Wednesday, February 3rd, there's no specific holiday here. So this is just a generic activity that you could do with your students during morning meeting on any day in February. So here we have Wednesday. You might start off by saying something like, it is a frigid winter day. Today is Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. Now for the morning share, you could ask students to share one thing that they're really good at. So I like to incorporate social emotional reflection prompts in morning shares. I think it's a great way for students to check in with each other, check in with themselves. And so I like this prompt a lot, asking students to reflect on one thing that they believe they're really good at. Then next we have the morning activity. This is a hit. I've shared this one a bunch of times on my channel, but this activity is Let's Play Guess Who. Ask me some questions and try to guess who I am. So as the teacher, you can think of a student in your class. You can draw one anonymously through popsicle sticks, or you can pick a student ahead of time. And basically what you'll do is in your head, you'll think about which student you're going to be, and students will take turns asking yes or no questions to try to guess who you are. So for example, a student might ask something like, do you play soccer? And if the student in your class that you're thinking of does play soccer, you could say yes. So students will take turns guessing, asking questions and trying to guess who you are. Then, of course, we have the morning message. Again, great way to center students and prepare them for the rest of the day. Now we have Thursday, February 4th, 2021. You could say something like, it is a chilly winter day. This is the day, this is what we're going to be doing today. Something to greet your students to start off morning meeting. Then we have the morning share. So today's morning share is, what is your favorite game to play? So I think this is a fun activity for students to think about the things they enjoy doing, the games they enjoy playing. And so students can just take turns sharing their favorite game to play. Again, a great morning share for whether you're teaching in person or virtually or hybrid. Now we have a morning activity. So this is another one that I've shared on my channel before. It's not super creative. It's basically the same thing as Simon Says, but it's Student Says. And what you do is you pick either your morning leader if you have one, or you can just randomly draw a student's name and play Student Says. So it has the exact same rules as Simon Says, but it's a fun way to get students moving in the morning. It's really great to incorporate as a brain break activity throughout the day as well. So I really like playing the game Student Says with students. morning message. And then lastly, we have Friday. So you might say something like, it is Fun Friday. Today is February 5th, 2021. Now our morning share is, if you were invisible, what would you do? Now your morning activity, another brain break, body movement game could be something like have students do 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 of something. So 5 toe touches, 4 sit-ups, 3 star jumps, 2 jumping jacks, and a tree pose. And of course, you'll end your morning meeting with the morning message. Now we just went through an entire week's worth of morning meetings for the month of February, but like I said, this slides presentation has ideas for the entire month of February. So I do just want to point out a couple of other holidays that you might want to do activities with your students during. So let's take a look here. Let's see. So on February 9th, it's actually National Pizza Day. So that could be a fun themed activity that you could do with your students during morning meeting. Now, of course, Valentine's Day is another holiday that happens in February. So for your morning share activity, you could ask students, would you rather give a Valentine's Day card or receive one? And you could ask students why. There's also Chinese New Year that happens in February. There's a bunch of different holidays that happen in February. You could talk about what Chinese New Year is with your students. You can tell them that 2021 is the year of the ox, for example. And a great morning share activity could be something like, there are 12 animals in the Chinese zodiac. They are rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. Which animal out of these 12 animals is your favorite and why? Now let's see. There's also President's Day that happens in February, so you could have your students learn about President's Day. You could talk about President's Day, even do a word search type activity with your students. And so we've basically gone over some activity ideas for things that you can do during morning meeting with your students. The link to this is in the video description down below in case you'd like to just have a pre-made, ready to go morning meeting set for you. However, I do also encourage you, if you like these ideas, to incorporate them in morning meeting. You don't necessarily have to use my slides, you can create your own, but I will have that link in the video description for you to check out. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. I post weekly tech tutorials for teachers. And if you did like the slides in today's video, you can find a link to them in the description down below, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye, friends.